the competition, and I hope you win the prize that you're looking for. Let's take a look back now at day 14 highlights. And again, a very tough stage. South Africa's Alfie Cox in 5th in the motorbikes. Let's see if he made any impression, if at all, today.
The 13th stage of the Dakar 2001 sees one of the potentially most difficult stages of the whole rally, but in the end it was Finland's Kari Tiainen who came through to win his first Dakar stage after 5 years of trying. Whilst in the car section, Hiroshi Mashioka really stuffed it to them. Dakar is testing whatever year you try. And this, the 23rd edition, has certainly taken some prisoners. Here we see the Danish crew of this car having trouble and running over to ask if one of the trucks had got any oil. Indeed they have, and the driver, Nikolai Moltele, gets some oil. Trouble is, the piston ring looks as if it's absolutely gone, with the amount of oil coming out of the exhaust. Former Grand Prix driver Paolo Barria is in trouble too. He says here we are waiting for the broom wagon because we can't go any further, otherwise we must wait until tomorrow in order to find another solution with someone who can maybe tow us out. Well, in the end, unfortunately for Paolo, nobody came along and they had to leave the truck in the middle of nowhere. This was Giovanni Sala, who had run out of fuel yesterday. Asking people if they'd got any, and indeed one obliging competitor did stop. And how valuable was that empty mineral water bottle for Sala? Even if he did get a faceful as the motorcyclist left, I'm sure he didn't mind. Sala asking another competitor, have you got enough fuel to get to the finish? And him replying, well, I hope. It may not have worked sometimes. In the end, though, he got to the finish. However, if you do take too long, the sun does set down into the desert. And some people were still in there in the middle of the night, still stuck without any fuel. It was not a welcome sight enough. And the broom wagon for some competitors.
Very hardcore today. But not so far from here, so I can go to Bivac maybe.
Some people saw more than they bargained for, though. This competitor here say, I saw this huge snake. It was about 80 centimetres long, 2 great big eyes, horrible face. It was awful. However, the mechanical problems were not so funny. Saying here, I don't understand how you do the Dakar on a bike. I've had a huge struggle on this Dakar, always struggling. I thought it'd be fun, but all the stages... All the stages are for dogs. Whoever did the road book, he's mad.
Et puis les mecs ils s'arrêtent pas, hein,
No one
KTM,
stopped to help
ça.
us. The KTM truck just came flying past. Everybody has their own story to tell, but sometimes your physical fitness is just being pushed too far, and it was this morning that the broom wagon then arrived at the bivouac. Competitor here telling us, I thought I'd get to Dakar this time. It's my last Dakar because I'm 57 years old, so I have to stop one day or, well, I'll be joking with myself.
Oui, je suis déçu. C'est dommage.
Ahora ya, después de toda la noche,
Each day is very hard, and every time when I arrive into the bivouac, I must start to motivate myself for the next day. But this time, it's too much.
Pero como el problema ya venía de días, ya me lo veía, ya me lo esperaba de un momento a otro. No era una cosa inesperada, el problema es que venía de muchos días.
So the second of the looping stages on the Dakar 2001 in the middle of Mauritania. The loop starting just a few kilometres out of the bivouac at Tijika, and then the 513-kilometre stage back to where they started, billed as the stage of the rally. Well, with Spain's Juan Roma already out earlier in the week, and the French hero Richard Sanct likewise retiring on the same day, it was KTM's party to call the shots at. Heinz Kinnegartner on the start line, just making sure all of his troops are doing as they're told. Jordi Arcarons, Fabrizio Mioni, Carlos Dugavado speeding off the line. And as we saw in days previous, the majority of the team all teaming up together. It is the safest way through the desert, if maybe not the fastest. Puyol, Cox, Dugavado, Mioni and Arcarons all riding line astern. Sometimes even taking time to look over their shoulder to check where the next one is. The team reportedly were worried about fuel consumption on this stage, particularly after Sala ran into problems yesterday. Mioni, for example, he changed the carburation to make it a little leaner late last night in the bivouac, and so therefore used less fuel today. Long stage though, with these five completing it in just over 7¼ hours. Even though they were riding relatively slowly, it was still a taxing day in that soft sand. Some people nearly going over the top of the handlebars, and indeed Alfie Cox was one of them. After he tried to make a break for it to go for the stage win, he said that he went about 100 metres with the peak of his crash helmet on the front mudguard before he went head over heels. Fortunately, Alfie was okay. He did, however, say that if he'd ridden any slower amongst these teammates, well, they would have fallen off. Over the top of the pass, the teammates went in a sea of silver and orange. Over the top and then down the other side. One of the most spectacular shots of the Dakar 2001 as they come down the dune. They certainly don't want to get airborne over the top of there. However, by the time the riders got to the finish, eventually it was Finland's Kari Tiainen who was leading yesterday until a problem with the engine, but he went on to be victorious today in a time of 6 minutes and 53 seconds. Tiainen even taking time out to check up with John Deacon, who had a big fall.
You fill up, John?
Oh yes.
You didn't catch it then.
You alright?
Yep, absolutely perfect. I'm getting good at crashing.
You're going... Is it okay to change it and go again?
Yeah, in 5 minutes I'll be gone.
John falling about 400 kilometers into the crash, the bike falling on him, and then it running like crazy before he could get out and get it off. A whitewash of KTM's inside the top 8, with 8th position going to Sala, but 7th going to Brucey, the Frenchman. Lewis and Johnny Campbell linking up together, the two Americans riding well. Johnny Campbell, of course, looking for a works ride very soon indeed. PG Lundmark recovering from his big accident yesterday, and likewise the leading Kawasaki today, Maletti in 13th. Cyril in 14th position on his Honda, an hour and a half back. Marquez continuing well in 15th position, bringing everybody else home. So then, after 5 years of trying, Finland's Tiernan was victorious. He says he's going to crack open a beer this evening and celebrate his first special stage win on the Dakar. Puyol, a massive, relatively speaking, 25 minutes back. Cox, Dugavado and Mioni, who still leads overall by 21 minutes ahead of Arcarons, Dugavado, Puyol and Cox.
Olipahan päivä.
Eilen tulin puolen yön aikaan yesterday night I arrived in the bivouac very late around midnight because of the problems I had yesterday on the stage. Remember that his engine blew and he had another engine similar. I didn't sleep much. Then I started slowly this morning, but gradually I felt better and better, and when we arrived on the camel grass I knew that I was fast and gaining time on the others.
Bueno, era
Esteve Puyol here telling us his second position today. A very slow day with camel grass and soft, very soft stand, and then a twisty track with many stones. Then it was very difficult, but it's okay. All was good for me.
Pero bueno, no me he hecho nada, la moto está bien y bueno, un poco cansado porque hay mucha piedra con arena y cansa bastante.
Well, I cannot believe that we actually pulled away from the other guys today because, you know, we've just been going very, very slowly, all the first 5 or 6 pilots together, and it's been a very, very long and slow day. It's been a difficult day. The sand is very thick. The camel grass was very rough for about 70 or 80 kilometers, but it's for us, you know, I think the first 5 pilots are only looking for each other. They don't want to make a break or anything like that, and it's so difficult, you know. You try to pull away, and then all of a sudden there's some lot twisties, and then they just cut the corner and catch you again. So the best thing is to just stay where you are, and let's hope something happens in the next few days.
The Euromaster squads are helping everybody change their tyres in the bivouac. But what's it like to be a local here in Mauritania? Well, talk about one end of the spectrum to another. This is the local tyre shop here in Tajika.
Combien de pneus tu fais par jour?
The local here saying that sometimes we can mend 20, maybe sometimes 30 a day. But on the Dakar, sometimes 60 4x4 tyres, but it depends on the day itself, the course, the route, and the stones. worlds apart. And this is how they inflate the tires locally here in Tajika.
Ouais, c'est comme ça. Ça, c'est 3 kilos. C'est 3 kilos.
That's about 3 kilogram pressure. 4 kilograms looks like that. But if 2 kilograms pressure, it's too soft like that. Here he says, I'm hoping one day to be a mechanic on the Dakar.
Paris-Dakar. Eh bien, écoutez, on va demander à Hubert Auriol.
Well, we'll ask Hubert Auriol. So then, the cars got underway for their second looping navigational stage, similar to the controversial stage that happened earlier in the week, where many of the top 9 car competitors received time penalties. The leading driver going into today's stage was Hiroshi Matsuoka with his Pajero Mitsubishi. Down the side of the dune he went, and the car just looked so finely balanced, handling what seemed to be a lot differently to the other Mitsubishis. Or was it just the way that the cameras caught him fighting over the dunes? By the time Matsuoka came to the finish, though, he had extended his overall lead with a truly stunning drive to beat Schlesser, Sousa and Kleinschmidt. Matsuoka was quickest through the stage, nearly 20 minutes faster than Schlesser. Schlesser hoping to keep in touch overall, but of course another 20 minutes behind the overall leader was not what the Frenchman was expecting. Schlesser was second, third was Sousa, 38 minutes behind Matsuoka in a stage of just over 7 hours for the majority of the competitors. 7 hours, 3 weeks of it on the Dakar. A truly stunning event by many of the drivers. Sousa third, Jutta Kleinschmidt. She was fourth today in her Pajero, some 40.5 minutes back of the overall winner, Matsuoka. Down the side of the enormous dunes she went, on the brakes all of the way, and once she was off them, the jumps were catching many of the people out. Some going fast, some going slow. The extra guard fitted to the front of the car, but today she's saying it's a high-speed stage, but very stony, quite a few corners, but we have to concentrate very hard to avoid those big stones. Today we just have to finish without losing too much time. It really must be one of the most difficult stages of the rally. But that guard to prevent some of the camel grass coming in through the gill and onto the radiator, eventually taking a little bit too much camel grass as she went over one of the dunes. The Mitsubishi getting totally beached and no other option but to dig the thing out. Co-driver Andreas Schultz guiding her away around the tunnel. Shinazuka was fifth, another 14 minutes back of his teammate Kleinschmidt. Shinazuka way down overall after nearly 24 hours worth of penalty. Stefan Orard, the Belgian, 57 minutes back of Matsuoka. He was sixth overall in his buggy, whilst Thierry Delaverne, he was seventh today. Another 5 minutes back of Orard. Serbia seems to be having his daily problem of tyres, this time changing the left-hand rear after a massive dent in the rim. Serbia now 2 hours behind the overall leader of the event after having led the rally overall earlier this week. Jean-Pierre Fontenay in his Mitsubishi having to stop as well. Here he explains to us that actually it's the steering rack mounting points that have disassembled themselves, so no other option but sump guard off and reattach the steering rack. Here we are on board with Bruno Sarbi, and the co-driver saying, let's go right-handed around this village, and we'll go about 300 metres out of our way to avoid the village. Here we go. K right and avoid the village, and therefore a safer route around it. Stefan Pederhansel continues to lead in the T1 class for relatively standard stock showroom machinery. And of course, when you are in one of the villages in Mauritania, all is quiet and the pace of life very slow before the Dakar arrives. Another 364.5 days of the year, it all goes quiet once more. Masuoka victorious by as good as 20 minutes over Schlesser, the last thing that the Frenchman needed. Masuoka winning, Souza chasing hard, Kleinschmidt and Shinazuka. Schlesser holding up his own mark in amongst the Japanese Mitsubishis. And overall, Masuoka continues to lead, but this time by 37 minutes from Schlesser.
Today is perfectly. So we have this morning at 6, they start, and every car in the passes in the special. So after we are good to concentrate to pass the Nenga. So good day, very happy.
Maximum attack?
No, 90%. We have 10% margin.
Bom, hoje perdemos e
Carlos Souza saying, today I caught Schlesser very quickly. And I thought I was going slowly at the time, but I think that it was myself who was going very fast. After this, I lost my way for a short time. Nothing else. It's pretty well normal in that sort of stage.
O normal deste tipo de provas.
Mas achaste que esta prova foi mais dura que ontem?
Was the stage harder than yesterday? Yes, I think it seems to be harder, and harder every day because we are tired. But I'm happy with my car. I remember when I was in T1, it was harder because of the suspension. Today, my car is very comfortable.
Suspensões magníficas, andam espetacularmente bem, até dá gosto andar num carro deste.
Trucks continue on in the Dakar. 11 tons for the Kamaz truck, but of course with 850 brake horsepower. Monsters of the desert indeed. And to go tip to tail, if they get that descent wrong, would certainly be disastrous. However, Lepre continued to lead late last night going into the stage, but at least, so far as he was concerned, some 3 hours, 20 minutes ahead of the Kamaz of Chagin. the Sugawara Hino, going into the stage this morning, third overall, but as good as 5 hours behind the leader. Tomorrow, a relatively short stage to give the crews a chance to recover from today's difficult stage. At least that's what the organisers thought. Therefore, the route from Tajika to Tajit, a relatively short one, 230 kilometres right into the picturesque town in the middle of Mauritania. A real jewel in the crown town awaits the Dakar 2001. Join us for more very soon.